morning, good afternoon, I don't really know what it is. I'm Savannah from Simply Savannah Lynn, or from Savannah Lynn, the YouTube channel. You know what? I'm a lot of things. And anyway, so let's just. Hello? Oh, hi, Sherman. Anyway, so let me just preface this. If you wanted a political video or to listen to me talk about that, this is not going to be that video. This is going to be a video about another one of my passions, aka sewing, because I felt like it. So just recently I went to a place in our town that it's like a Goodwill, but it's actually for like a good cause, and all the money that they collect inside the store goes back into our community food bank and helps, you know, feed and take care of our town. Anyway, I go there once a month, and the ladies, the really sweet old ladies at this place, save me buttloads of stuff because they know that I have a business called Simply Savannah Lynn, where I dress up like birthday party entertainer princesses. I have Rapunzel and Merida and Mirabelle and like 2 different versions of Elsa and a mermaid, and I have horses, and they know I do that, and I make all my costumes myself, so they save me stuff so I can make more costumes. Anyways, I just wanted to go through this haul and then talk a little bit about why I'm sort of annoyed at Disney, but then at the same time why I'm not going to stop loving their characters. So, as you guys have probably seen in some recent videos that I've done, or if you just paid attention yourself, Disney is going very much so woke. And it's honestly really sad to see because I grew up on Disney. Like Disney and then like Gold Rush and the Andy Griffin Show and like Storage Wars and Pawn Stars. Oh, and Dirty Jobs. Like that's what my family grew up on. And I remember growing up, if I wanted to watch something and I wanted it to be a family show, Disney was always a safe bet in our house. Every single Disney movie we ever had, you know, back when like people used DVDs, yeah, those things, my parents had these little sticky notes on them that said, you know, Meisner family and whatnot. So I could take them to my friend's house and share them. And I remember you could turn on any Disney movie and it would always have good morals and a good story. But today, it seems like instead of teaching young girls and guys, because my brother did watch those with me too, instead of teaching them that, you know, you can be anything you want to be, no matter what anybody tells you, or that sometimes there's going to be people in life that challenge you and say that you're nothing or you can't do it, and you're going to prove them wrong. Instead of going from wholesome things like that, we've gone to like this woke world of, you know what they say, that love is love, and that sexuality and all these different things is totally normal and acceptable for like young kids to be dealing with. And that's just not the Disney that I remember watching growing up. I could turn it on and I would always walk away feeling uplifted and positive. And just recently, this isn't Disney, this is DreamWorks, but I watched How to Train Your Dragon 2 and then How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World, and you just fall in love with these characters and their stories and who they are. And that's why people like me cosplay as, you know, like Elsa and different characters, because we relate to them and we relate to their story or aspects of their story, the things that they went through, the troubles, the turmoils, the problems that they had to solve and overcome. We can relate to that. Particularly, I think of Star Wars. And there's so many characters that I love very deeply, and I am a very big fangirl of. Some particular ones that come to mind would be like Padme or Captain Rex or Ahsoka. I can relate to these characters and the things that they went through and the things that they had to overcome, and that self-doubt and that wondering if you're doing the right thing because, you know, everybody's against you. Like, what do you do in those situations? But instead today, instead of talking about being able to be an overcomer and be able to do the right thing in the face of adversity, we're more told of today in Disney and in DreamWorks and in Universal that, you know, it's all subjective and it doesn't really matter, because what you feel in the end is truly what's going to tell you whether or not that was the right and wrong thing. Because like you grow up and you're like a little 12-year-old girl, and I was, let's see, How to Train Your Dragon 2 came out in 2014, so I was 10 at that time. And I remember seeing that in theaters and thinking, you know, Hiccup was fighting, you know, the dragon warrior, the dragon master, and he was wondering if he was doing the right thing because he was just trying so much to be his dad that he forgot to be himself and do the right thing in that sense. And maybe he was scared that he would never live up to his dad, or maybe he was just scared of doing the wrong thing and upsetting everybody. But in the end, he, you know, followed his heart and he did the right thing. And that's what kids need to learn these days. None of this gender theory, this sexuality. I mean, and it's not even just about that the LGBTQ community is in these movies. It's the fact that we're pushing sexual relations on children. Like, I don't really care what gender, romance, love you put on the screen, but can we make it clean? Can we make it PG? Can we do it not in a way of pushing this literal just sexual acts and like these sexual ideas into the eyes of children? I mean, that's all we ask. Is that too much? And you know, this weekend I went to a birthday party where I was Rapunzel and I was hired to do a pony ride. So I brought my horse Liberty, and these kids, it was 7 little girls and 1 little boy, and this little boy actually brought me a flower to put in my hair, and it was the sweetest thing. But like, these kids, they're not worried about what their gender identity is. They're not worried about what their friends are gonna think if they're non-binary or whatever they decide to be, or if they're woke or not, or if they want to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Like, they don't care about that. They don't know. They have this childlike innocence. And I mean, they're here sitting here talking to me about, you know, like, what do I do in my kingdom of Corona, and where's Eugene, and did you apologize to Eugene after you hit him in the face with a frying pan? Which, yes, I told them I did apologize afterwards. But I also told him that he broke into my house, so I had the right to defend myself. But like, these kids, they have such an innocence about it, and it seems like today, instead of protecting that, which you would think would be something that all the different parties and sides could agree on, that we should probably be protecting our youth and protecting our children, it seems like exploiting them has become a very popular trend, to be honest. I mean, look on Instagram or TikTok. You see all these accounts that are being run by the parents, right? And they're of their children, and these children, I mean, I don't know what you guys looked like when you were in middle school, but I mean, I didn't even really match my socks together. I just put on what I wanted to for the day, some shorts and a big t-shirt, and I went outside and I goofed off and I played in mud. These days, I mean, these little kids, like these little 11 and 12-year-old girls, look older than I do, and I'm in college right now, and I'm like, something isn't really not clicking here with me. And I really don't care that, you know, a drag queen wants to be represented in a Disney movie, or that a gay or trans or a bi person does. It is what it is. Everybody has different preferences. But what I do care about, and what we should probably be looking into a little bit more, is when these parents are actively forcing their children into it because it's culturally accepted and because it gives you the moral high ground culturally to say that your child is one of those said things. I can't even tell you how many stories that, you know, I've seen come out on TikTok. And it's not even stories, it's their own videos, and I don't even think they realize the irony of it, where, you know, this mom's like, all right, Hexley, like, what do you identify as? And he's like, identify? And she's like, yes, what sexuality? And she's like nudging him on, and you can just see like the confusion on these kids' faces. And I'm like, at what point do we decide that this is abusive towards children? Like, at what point do we decide that maybe, just maybe, like, we should let kids be kids for as long as humanly possible? Because like, the real world we live in, it isn't exactly Rainbows and Sunshine. It's not an old-fashioned Disney princess movie where, you know, there's a happily ever after. Like, I truly don't know if there's going to be happily ever after for this world, because, I mean, we have fallen so far and so dark and so sinful that I don't really even know anymore. Because I know as a Christian, and I read the book of Revelations in particular, that there is going to be a time where Satan is going to be here, he's going to be amongst us, and it's going to be pain and turmoil, and people are going to seek death and they're not going to find it. But I do know in the end that God does win, that he does have a plan. He's already won the final battle, but it can be scary in the meantime, in between these two different things. Like, and for somebody who's an atheist or who doesn't believe that there's a creator, this can be a little bit like, I'm being honest, it can be sort of a Debbie Downer. Like, the world that you live in, you really think that this is as good as it's gonna get? Because personally, like, I know where I'm going when I die, so I don't fear it at all. I truly don't fear death. That's probably why I'm a horse trainer, because I face it every freaking day. But as far as heaven and hell go, this is as close to hell as I am ever going to get. But for people who don't believe, this is as close to heaven as they're ever gonna get, and that is, thank you, Sherman, that is heartbreaking. That is so sad. And, you know, it makes me really distraught, if I'm being honest, because there was a time in my life where I truly thought that the salvation of like all my followers was my responsibility, and I took that upon myself, and I had to come to terms with the fact that like that wasn't my job. My job is to only talk about it and to plant seeds in people's minds. I can't force you to pray the prayer to get your name written in the book of life, but I can do my best to encourage you in the right direction. And that was a tough pill to swallow, because if I could force salvation down some people's throats, I probably would, because I'm horrified of going to heaven one day and not seeing some of my friends there and people that I knew I could have helped. But it just feels like this world is getting darker and darker. Like, I would give anything to go back to the time of where like the biggest debate that like I had to face was like Captain America versus Iron Man, Civil War, if anyone saw that movie from 2016. Like, that was the biggest debate amongst my friends, was who was right. And little did I realize, though, truly looking at some of these movies, the things that we talk about in movies relates to our life so much. So in Captain America Civil War, they're divided because Captain America and his side, they don't want to sign the Sokovia Accords, which would basically give a whole, I think it was like he said 100 and something countries power over where the Avengers could go and who they could help, or who they were allowed to help, I should say. And Cap didn't want to do that, because he's like, what if there's a place that we need to go and they don't let us? Or what if there are people that need our help and they won't let us help them? What do we do then? He's like, the safest hands are always going to be our own. And Iron Man's and his side, his theory was somebody's got to keep us in check. And we can't just, you know, run around like a loose cannon and do what we want. And I'm like, looking back on all these movies, I'm like, oh my goodness, we were honestly conditioned, groomed into the political realm that we are in today. And I don't know if that's horrifying or somewhat interesting to know of, because Hollywood movie grooming is something that they do, but in a completely different sense of they're normalizing all of these dystopian and horror films, so that one day when it does actually happen before our eyes, we're like, no, this isn't really happening. This is just like something that would happen in a movie. No, it actually does happen. They're just trying to condition you to believe otherwise. But we truly were prepared through movies how to live in society and what to think. I don't care what people think. I just want them to think. I want them to use their mind and common sense. And it seems like we don't really do that anymore these days. And that's why when I look at all these movies that, you know, I grew up in that I love, it makes me sad to see the way that some of them are turning out to be, and how some actors and voice actors in these series and movies are getting treated. Like Gina Carano, or you know, who was fired from Disney from her character Cara Dune from Disney's Star Wars The Mandalorian, because she said that it was hard to be a conservative female because you can't speak your mind. And they fired her because of it, which I don't know what's irony. The fact that she said, I can't speak my mind because something will happen, and then that literal thing happening, or the fact that Disney says that they're going to be taking steps towards inclusivity and then fire an entire side of people. It's just interesting, just food for thought. And so this all goes back to Disney in the movies and me being the princesses. I don't think I will ever truly be able to boycott Disney because of the impact that it has made on me and in my life. I care too much about some of these characters to truly let them go to the woke side of things. At least not yet. And I can like certain characters from movies and TV shows in the old version of the way Disney used to be, without having to align myself with the woke values of 2023 versions of Disney, who's becoming a monopoly, whether we like it or not. Because these characters mean so much to so many people, and in a world where we would like nothing better than to escape reality and escape the world that we live in, because it is a dark and scary place, movies and TV shows and books are the way that some people do that, and I'm guilty of that 100%, which is why I probably love sewing and making cosplay so much, because these characters are reflections of what I feel on the inside in my world, and I can relate to that. That's my take on Disney today and Star Wars and woke cancel culture and everything else that seems to be going on. Do I have all the answers? No, but am I sure going to try? Absolutely. 100%. Because remember, don't care what you think, just that you think. And at the end of the day, that's all anyone can do. Anyway, y'all have a good day.